This is cutting deep into the MAGA bone. He's now polling in some outliers 36, 37% approval. I've never seen that. In the depths of COVID, I've never seen that. At the lowest economic point of the shutdown of our entire economy, I've never seen that. So, and by the way, to your point, I do believe.
Hey, folks, I'm with Mike Madrid. He's a champion. He decided to jump on at the last second. We're going to talk about, well, here you go. The framing was Trump and MAGA are far weaker than you think because a set of polls came on. Whenever there's a set of polls, I immediately go to Mike's Twitter and see his response. And I'm like, am I right? Then Mike says it. I'm like, all right, if Mike says it and I'm saying it, then I trust it. And that this is the cherry on top that this came out right now. Your response to what I just told you with this latest breaking news.
So, first of all, fantastic news. It looks like Chuck Schumer's got it. His career's on the line. If this had gone the other way, he'd be gone. When you have all the Democrats and 8 Republicans going up, it's telling you something very significant has shifted on the ground, which I think we're all sensing, we're all feeling. We all know that the line has been broken. This cavalry attack has been beaten back, and the time is not to reconnoiter our troops. It's to start advancing on them. It's to start going aggressively on the offense right now. That's what Schumer is doing. And again, the fact that there are 8 Republicans doing this, and perhaps most importantly, the fact that you saw Trump pivot, really retreat, but let's just say pivot for the moment, on the whole policy and the strategy. I don't know if you saw Tom Homan up there basically saying we're going to reel back the way that we're doing this.
Yep.
That is 180 degrees different than what Steve Miller and Bovino and Noam were saying 5, 6, 7 days ago. So
right.
This is a complete retreat, and that tells you how much this politically is bleeding them out. It is. I've never seen Trump completely flip around. I don't know if on ever. Like maybe on the Operation Warp Speed on the vaccines, but that was only because we already had vaccines working. He had to just kind of. He was taking credit for something that was already in place, and he wanted the credit for fixing the vaccines, the pandemic. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused because it's so confusing. The main point here is, Waj, the polling is doing so much damage that they are now in full retreat at the moment, and Democrats cannot let up. From the leader, Chuck Schumer, to the House members who are so inclined to activists on the street. Now is not the time to hedge. Now is not the time to navel gaze. Now is not the time to worry about this word or that phrase. They're worried because the Republicans are worried because they should be. This is cutting deep into the MAGA bone. He's now polling in some outliers 36, 37% approval. I've never seen that. In the depths of COVID, I've never seen that. At the lowest economic point of the shutdown of our entire economy, I've never seen that. So, and by the way, to your point, I do believe now this still can go lower because the dollar is in such trouble. The economy is getting so bad. The average people, I mean, a lot of working class people have been feeling this economy for years now, but this is going to start seeping up into white collar, the professional class, realizing the underpinnings of our economy are starting to rattle. They're starting to shake, and we could be in deep trouble.
And now you've seen over 1,000 tech workers have signed an open letter calling on companies to break from ICE, including employees at Meta, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, NVIDIA, OpenAI, and Apple. Because as we've said before and we'll say again, the only color that trumps the color white in this country, Mike, is the color green. Yeah. And the religion of this country is always been capitalism. And speaking about the almighty dollar, in God we trust, the dollar, folks, Mike talked about it last time. I've talked about it a little bit of times with Gil Duran and others. The dollar's tanking. Donald Trump, I know it was like there's 37 breaking news. Donald Trump was perfectly. Do you see that clip where he was fine with the dollar tanking? He goes, yeah. It's fine. I don't care.
Well, I got to tell you, Waj, what people don't realize is he actually needs a weaker dollar, which is why he's so pissed off at Powell, because the debt crisis is getting so bad that the only way to get out of this is to inflate our way out, to devalue the dollar and inflate our way out of the of our debt, which it's hard to say because it's so horrifying, but that's where it's at. Okay. And that's what he's
He
gonna
is
do.
Jerome Powell, with the criminal investigation.
That's exactly it. Jerome Powell's like, this is destabilizing for the entire monetary framework of what the dollar is, and he's like, I don't care. Like, well, if you don't do it, I'll investigate you or try and arrest you, whatever the hell he's going to do. He's certainly going to replace him because his tenure is coming up with somebody that will probably cut rates by a full point right away. What that's going to do is it's going to dramatically inflate, loosen up the money supply, guys. And I don't want to sound too much like a monetary, academic here. It's not my area of expertise, but it's very obvious. And AOC said it's too. The goal here is to cut out the social safety net and inflate the dollar as a way to deal with the debt crisis to prevent a further weakening of the dollar because we may lose global currency reserve status. That's why we invaded Venezuela, by the way. That's why we're taking it's colonialism. It's mercantile. It's mercantilism. It's go take the weaker country's stuff to hold up your own empire's currency. That's the only explanation.
And also, folks, um, he has threatened, for those who haven't followed, it's okay. I know we're not economists, but this is common sense for many people. He has threatened Jerome Powell to lower the interest rates. We found out because 2 weeks ago, Jerome Powell published and edited and produced a 2-minute video, basically acting as a whistleblower, saying Donald Trump has criminally threatened to investigate me unless I lower the interest rates. And there's a model that we have, folks. You don't have to look too far. Turkey, another authoritarian leader, did that. And what happened in Turkey? Hyperinflation,
Yeah.
tanking the economy, right? But he doesn't care about consequences. He doesn't care about long-term anything. This is the same man who gets a friggin' worm stuck in his head. And he goes, trade war, you're screwing us. You're screwing us. And they're like, no, we're not. They're not screwing you. You are buying things from that country because you have money and they have goods that you want. They can't reciprocate because they're a poor country. But he's so stupid, Mike, that he gets something stuck in his head and he thinks countries are screwing us, which he came up with a stupid formula for a stupid trade war and tariffs. And who pays for the tariffs? You didn't have to be an economist. A report came out last week. 95% of those tariffs have been paid by
Us.
Americans.
Yeah.
And the price of everything has gone up, folks. And if you look at the latest polls, and I want to ask you about the latest polls when it comes to the tariffs, when it comes to inflation, when it comes to the economy this week when they came out, Mike, tell them what the poll said.
The polls have Donald Trump at a historically low range, not just for Donald Trump, which would be big enough news in and of itself, but they're historically low for any president at this point in his tenure sitting in this position. He's lower than Joe Biden on the economy now, by the way. Okay. And we're just beginning. That's what's really important to understand. Biden, you could say we all have our criticisms, we all have our compliments, but at least what he was doing was trying to use government policy to aggressively ameliorate the situation. What we have right now is a president who's clearly antagonizing the situation. Clearly, demonstrably, like our allies are cutting trade deals around us and without us. We're witnessing a hoarding in the precious metal states that our companies need that we can't compete with because we're holding paper and they're holding resources. If this resource battle continues, then all expectations are it's going to dramatically increase. The dollar gets pounded further. So yeah, I hate to use the word hyperinflation because let me say one other thing too here, Waj. And again, I hate to veer off of the polling numbers, but they're so
No, no, go.
correlated to what's happening with affordability is what we've been calling it. Okay.
Right.
There's only one explanation for a stock market that is exploding and gold and silver prices exploding. Those are supposed to work in opposition. When you have confidence in your stock market, the price of gold and silver as safe havens should be dropping to historic levels when the S&P 500 hit its record level, and vice versa. Okay, if the stock market is doing really, really bad or crashes, the price of gold and silver should go up dramatically. They're both going up. The only real explanation for that is the value of the dollar is resetting.
There you go.
People aren't getting richer in the stock market. If the stock market goes up 15%, but the dollar loses 20% of its value, you've lost 5%. I don't care if the stock market's going up, it's meaningless.
Yeah,
The
someone
value
said Goes up, dollar goes down. How does that help us make us more wealthy or
We're
more
not.
powerful?
We're not getting wealthier. We're not getting richer. And that's what I said is it's no longer about wages for working class people making hourly rates or construction guys or manufacturing people or people in ag or the working class. This is now people looking at their 401ks and realizing I'm not going to have enough money. The dollar's falling apart. Like in 10 years, all the last 15, 20, 30 years of value, the dollar was devalued 10% since Trump took office. 10%.
I know.
So if you,
We've mentioned it. Yep, 10 to 11%.
10 to 11%. And so I bring all of that up, not because, again, I'm an economist. I'm saying that what's happening is people, real people now, it's getting higher and higher and higher at our class levels are realizing there's no full faith and credit in the American economy anymore. Not just internationally, where people are clearly dumping the dollar for gold, but here domestically, people are realizing, wait a second, this whole thing is starting to come apart.
You go.
And when you lose confidence, you lose the ability as a leader in public opinion to have any issues that drive you forward. What I mean by that is there's not a single policy issue. There's nothing that Trump is doing, not one thing where the public is saying by 50% or more, that's a good thing or I approve of what he's doing. They don't trust him. The consent of the governed is literally starting to erode, and you can't get to 36, 37 unless you've completely wiped out all of your support with independents and start getting into that MAGA bone. That's the only explanation for what's going on. And I'm saying that maybe sounding a little shrill because I've never seen anything like this before.
It's self-immolation. It's the self-immolation of America. I had Garrett Graff on, I think, a couple of days ago. It was a fantastic guest who wrote this piece in The Wired. He's saying, and he echoed something I said. I'm like, Garrett, I got to get you on because you're a historian. I think maybe I would have, I said it with you, is that Putin and Xi Jinping, right? China and Russia could not have manufactured a better Manchurian candidate to destroy America than Donald Trump. They didn't even have to do anything. They're just sitting there right now, smoking a cigar, drinking vodka, as Donald Trump is self-immolating, not just the Republican Party, but the U.S. economy. Because to your point, Mike, it's not just the economy, it's the reputation of America. We just saw what happened at Davos. I mean, remarkable speeches by our former allies, Carney, openly saying, yeah, the facade of rules-based order is over, and we can't trust America anymore. In the middle countries like us, we'll have to chart our own path. Canada said, okay, we're going to do business with China now. China openly said, all right, your stupid trade wars, fine. We won't buy soy off of your soy farmers. We'll just go to Brazil and Argentina. The rest of the world doesn't trust us anymore. They're not trading intelligence with us anymore. We literally are threatening to blow up NATO, folks. That Greenland thing still hasn't gone away. He backtracked a bit, but he's still interested in it. He already invaded Venezuela. I'm just keeping a track of the stuff that's happened in the past 2 months because people forget. He invaded Venezuela, kidnapped Maduro, stole Venezuelan oil, sold it, folks. And little Marco Rubio, who seemed to be doing some bumps of something yesterday, Mike. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't watch it.
You said, yeah. Well, yeah, he sold the oil and it's right now in an offshore Qatar account. We're like, what? So the rest of the world's moving away from us. They can't trust us. And furthermore, when it comes to immigration, Mike, another big piece of news we've already forgotten. The Trump administration said, yeah, we're not going to process any new visas from 75 of the 193 countries. Oh, but by the way, come to the World Cup. We'll make an exception for the World Cup and the Olympics. Oh, and by the way, we're going to end birthright citizenship, and we're going to try to strip people away, denaturalize citizens. Oh, and we're going to unleash ICE to literally murder people. But come to America. Tourism has taken a nosedive from our allies, folks. Now the dollar's tanking. And just to connect it all, before we talk about some other numbers, for the Broligarchy, we mentioned this before with Gil Duran and the Peter Thiel and the Elon Musks. They want the dollar to tank because they believe when the dollar tanks, crypto will ascend. And a weakened America allows them, this is their plot, to then implement their techno-fascism. So you got the techno-fascist Elon Musk's, you got the white Christian nationalists, Russell Vought, you got the Stephen Millers with the white nationalists, you got China and Russia just licking, their fingers right now, drooling, Mike. Meanwhile, just came out new jobless numbers an hour ago, higher than expected, Mike. 209,000 people filed for unemployment benefits last week. Further breaking news, hour ago, Amazon just announced another round of 16,000 layoffs months after it laid off 14,000 workers. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy, however, raked in 40 million last year, and Amazon is spending 75 million producing and promoting the Melania documentary. And also UPS a couple of months ago was about 25,000 people. Remember that?
Yeah.
You take all this data, Mike. You're not an economist. I'm a simple English major, and I could look at all this and be like, "This ain't good, Mike."
No, sorry about the laugh. I mean, with that wrap up and that clothesline, let me take it a little bit further. Yes, unemployment is at about a decade level high and probably going to get higher. Um, Consumer confidence is at a 50-year low, which is one of the glues you need to start a rebound to turn things around. The European Union was just signed a free trade deal 48 hours ago with India, to
Yep.
create one of the largest free trade zones, basically saying America's out, India's in. Look for the rising BRIC nations, India, China, Russia, presumably, are going to be very, very ascendant. They're hoarding materials because the dollar is crashing.
Yep.
Crypto is crashing at the moment, but I think you're right. There's clearly a longer term play here that we're not all, privy to. Like, this is not. Look, Waj, I think about you all the time when I wake up at night, going, is this just idiocy and incompetence, or is this actual malice? Like, is he? Because to have this, to wreck these things this bad, you can't be that stupid, or can you? Is he acting on the behest of somebody else? I don't know anymore. And at a certain point, I guess it kind of doesn't matter, because you could go mad trying to answer that question. But what I will say is that
But it doesn't even matter, right, Mike? Because look at the end result.
that's what
Now, who
yeah.
cares?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The only question is, can we last as long as we're going, which gets back to your earlier question on the Democrats, holding out. Thank God, because we've got to shut this down and stop these operations. Let's talk about ICE for just a moment, because that really did seem to be the spark. The killing of Alex Preddy. It's obviously been building up, but the administration clearly lying to us with video evidence. I think it shook a lot of people to their core, not just people who watch these guys lie every day like you and I do, but this broke through. This broke through the
Sure.
kind of disparate media bubbles, and even a lot of right wing influencers are going like, I can't defend this. The NRA is out there going, the president's wrong on this. Like, Kyle Rittenhouse is saying, no, I mean, maybe not for good reasons, but basically what they're saying is these guys are lying to you, which they are.
To your face. To your
It's
face.
to your face, and they're telling you not to believe your own eyes while you're watching it. That's like the Epstein stuff, right? That's that same trust and confidence that is eroding, and each one of those breaks in the dam starts to open up another leak of confidence and trust. They're never going to get that back. And that's why I'm saying advance, advance, advance on this. So what I don't want people to get confused on, though, is this. The question of ICE, the question of immigration, and the question of government overreach, I'm convinced are all none of these are good for the president, by the way. None of them. So, but don't try to conflate all three of them either, because the American people, the public, does not look at them that way. Polling is still showing, for example, on immigration, the American public still trusts Republicans more on immigration. What they're seeing in Minneapolis, what they're seeing in the streets, they don't consider it immigration. They're seeing a Gestapo. They're seeing masked government thugs coming into homes and grabbing children and shooting U.S. citizens in the face. And so that is what I think broadly, right, left, top down, everybody is reacting to. That doesn't mean that there isn't an opening on immigration and that they support the president on immigration. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, I know that oftentimes there's a need to conflate all these issues as one and win on all of them at the same time. What I'm telling you right now, with 35 years of polling and looking at this, at this moment, all of these people are overacting to a government that they believe that is clearly an authoritarian, anti-American, extra-constitutionalist regime, which, of course, you and I have been saying this is coming, like, duh, but this opened up the eyes of a wide swath of Americans that just thought that was just kind of politicking and Republicans and Democrats doing what they do. This things changed. There was a fundamental shift. And what I want Americans to do now as we start taking to more measures to fight back, including this rising idea of a national strike, like do we may have to bring our own economies to our knees to save our country is
Mass
literally
strike, folks. Been
it's
saying
lit
it for a while.
yeah, you're right. That's exactly where it's at. It's like it's a race to see who can destroy the economy first. This guy for his own authoritarian fascist reasons, or us in an attempt to destabilize the regime enough to get somebody to wake the hell up and say we need to make a change and put an adult that actually cares about this country and about the Constitution in charge, or we will forever lose this experiment that we started on a couple centuries ago.
Let me work backwards from what you said, because I think, my co-host Danielle has been saying national strike for weeks now, and I agree, because looking at the data, the institutions, corporate America is still with Trump. Tim Apple of Tim Cook, sent the most benign, pathetic message to Apple supporters, right? Which is why, for those who joined us a bit late, you got 1,000 employees from these companies. These companies, like, oh, business as usual. Amazon is releasing this pathetic Melania documentary that we've talked about, where literally zero tickets have sold. It's coming out, right? They spent $40 million on producing this high gloss gaslight Melania documentary to rebrand herself as a favor to Donald Trump. Okay. They have not been. And I want you all to know that capitalism and racism go like this in this country, right? These people will not bend, Mike, until we hurt their bottom line. If you don't believe me, I take you back to ABC and Jimmy Kimmel. They were perfectly fine bending the knee to Donald Trump and Brendan Carr's threats. Sinclair, local broadcasting, threatened ABC. ABC that day said, Jimmy Kimmel, you're done. 3 days later, what happened, Mike? We unsubscribed from Disney Plus, and all of a sudden ABC said, oh, hey, Jimmy Kimmel, you're back, and we're going to give you a 1-year extension. And the stockholders of Disney said, we demand an audit. Who made the decision to remove Jimmy Kimmel, right? They only respond to money, which is why I think we need a national strike, which is the only way you get the Amazons, the NVIDIAs, OpenAIs, the friggin' all these corporations, right? And furthermore, Spotify gleefully and openly ran ICE ads. We've been on this for a while. There was a boycott against Spotify. And then after the murder of Renee Nicole Good in January, Mike, guess what? Spotify's like, oh yeah, we stopped. We stopped running ads for ICE. Now, going backwards, I talk to you about this, Mike, and I usually trust you on the polls, but this is where I'm going to toot my horn on two things. I said they've overreached. As you know, I'm on abolish ICE, disintegrate ICE, tear down ICE. Ruben Gallego says it now. Pritzker says it. Latest poll came out 2 hours ago. YouGov poll. Look how quickly they have turned. Look how quickly they overreached. The murder of 2 people. Now, folks, within 2 weeks, abolishing ICE continues historic surge of support. 46% of Americans support abolishing ICE, 43% oppose. Those are remarkable numbers. 80% of Democrats, 15% of Trump voters support abolishing ICE. Independents are now +8 on the question. Speaking about immigration, for those who don't follow the polls, it was Donald Trump's strongest plank. He's negative double digits on the economy, negative double digits on inflation, negative double digits on Epstein, negative 30 to negative 40 on using military force to occupy Greenland, negative 44 around his approval rating. This is the second thing where you and I, when we first talked, I said, Mike, I think he might get to 36, 35. And you're like, I don't know, Waj. I don't know. He's on what, 36 now? 37?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's going to get worse. I hate to say it, folks. The economy's going to get worse. Everything's about to get worse, which means he's going to get more desperate, folks. It's a situation that I think, and finally, to wrap it up and bring it back to Democrats, I want to ask you about this. Well, how do you then reconcile with all these numbers as you said, Americans still trust Republicans more in immigration and national security. And the reason is, Mike, you've said it twice, I've been saying it, Democrats need to go on offense, smash mouth, tell the American people about immigration reform, tell them your plan, embrace something, do something.
Yeah.
But they're playing prevent defense still, right? And Mike, what infuriates me is I heard from someone who, this writer, I won't mention him, but he knows someone at Chuck Schumer's office, an aide for Schumer. An aide for Schumer, he said I could share this, is so pissed off at Schumer because he says this inaction is a deliberate strategy. They're seeing the polls, they're seeing the special elections, and the Democratic establishment, Mike, is saying, oh, we can just waltz in. Let's play timid. We got this. Even though the Democratic brand is worse than the Republican brand, like you said, Trump has overreached so extensively. We'll take the House, we'll take the Senate. We don't have to ruffle the feathers on the economy, on billionaires, on ICE, on anything else. So we'll play timid and we'll win. Your response to what you see from the Democratic strategy and what you just heard.
Well, first, that advice is exactly right. If you're going to say abolish ICE, if you're going to say defund the police, if you're going to be accused of open borders, the reason why those attacks have been so damaging to Democrats is for what you just said. Democrats have not put out specific plans and alternatives that they could run on. They have lulled themselves into believing that the American public is intuitively going to just naturally see that the Republicans are bad, horrible, people doing bad things. While that is true, there's such a lack of confidence in our institutions that you can't just rely on that. You can't stand for nothing and expect that just because people are voting against somebody that they somehow like you. That in a nutshell is what all the polling is saying there's problems on, and it's why I remain concerned about the abolish ICE frame. It works great for people who are passionate and activists and fired up. But unless you're saying this is what, and you brought Ruben Gallego up. Ruben Gallego is messaging this perfectly. What he's saying is this is exactly what we need to do. You can abolish ICE if you want. You can change its name. You can do whatever the hell you want to. But let me tell you what I'm for and what Democrats need to be for. It's these five elements. Just saying abolish ICE could be a disaster because it's the same situation as we saw during the George Floyd murders when everyone's like, defund the police. And everyone's like, yeah, let's defund the police. It ends up, and this isn't Mike Madrid saying this was Jim Clyburn saying this. That whole frame is in large part what brought Democratic numbers so low, and there aren't a whole lot of uh, data points to say that that's why it's recovered. So the main message here, Waj, is you can't just be against things. You have to stand for things
Or
to
something.
build a coalition. That's my only concern. I'm not. If you want to abolish ICE, go for it. But you damn well better have a good plan to say, here's what we're going to do, because you can't just get rid of it and say, we're not going to take care of immigration, the immigration problem, because Americans do still believe that this is a problem that needs to be addressed, and it is. Half the Democratic caucus will say that because it is. There's nothing racist about saying that, but there's a humane way to manage this entire
A
process,
humane way.
and that's what Gallegos is saying, and that's why I think his messaging is spot on. So
So this is,
that
oh, sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
no,
Continue.
what I was gonna say is that's the main concern I have at this moment, is too often I will see Democrats snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Because right now is the time to focus on the weaknesses of these guys. When the enemy is in full-fledged retreat, don't stop and pick up your stuff, chase them down. Like, let's go after them. Start picking up offense, because the more political ground we pick up now, the less time they have to reconnoiter to start wrecking everything else that they're going to be wrecking on other levels. Tulsi Gabbard was in Fulton County last night, the head of our intelligence agency, looking for election improprieties on stuff that happened 6 years ago. Like, if that doesn't scare the crap out of all of us, I don't know what is. So now is not the time, like I said, to be quibbling over these issues. They're giving us such a massive opening that you kind of have to. Uh, we can't allow disagreements to stop finally the opening after a year of this assault to prevent us from doing what we need to do.
So you and I agree mostly, I think on 85%. Our disagreements are mostly strategic, maybe procedural. And I'm more on the aggressive front. And I'll tell you why. I think it links up and it will accomplish what you just said.
Yeah.
As a person who's been following ICE for many years, seeing its reign of terror, seeing what CBP has done, I think there's a rare generational moment. Generational, really, because it's only existed for 20 years, where people's eyes are finally wide open. And people are like, I had no idea this is what ICE did. Holy shit, they're killing white people. They're terrorizing our streets. They're flashbanging, tear gassing people. Why the F do we have this? Like, what the F? You're telling me this is enforcement? This is enforcement. This is terror, right? Which is why I think more and more and more, as they continue their reign of terror, and you use this word overreach. You predicted when we first started talking, they will overreach on immigration. They will overreach on the economy. They will lose Latinos, right? They overreach on the economy. They overreach on immigration. Mike, tell them the Latino numbers as of right now.
Latino numbers are sitting at 27%, which means a complete loss of every gain that they have made since 2016. And to again to your point, numbers could go lower here because in the wind up to the 2018 midterms, Latino approvals for Trump were between 18 and 20. So there's still a 7, 8 point floor with Latinos where he could dive even further down.
And this is where I agree with you. And this is where you got to take a risk. Mamdani took a risk. He was rewarded. Some people might not like it, but he was rewarded. He said, I will never, ever be accused of not trying. So what Mamdani said is, it's not enough to be Trump bad. Here's my vision for the future. Okay. Here's what I want to do. I want to try for. Agree with it, disagree with it. I'm going to try for it. Right. You heard from New Yorkers who said, I don't agree with Mamdani when it comes to Israel, and I might not agree with Mamdani when it comes to democratic socialism. But you know what? He's fighting, and at least he's trying. Give him a shot. All right. I don't have to agree with you on Israel or I don't know, immigration, but you know what? Go against the billionaires, free buses, universal childcare. Try for it, bro. Try for it. Mamdani comes in 2 weeks in, Mike. Like I said, I'm with Hochul, universal childcare, right? I've always given Republicans Mike, this applause, right? Just wait with me, folks, just before you see where I'm going with this. When Republicans get power, Mike, they don't give a shit. They just do it. They're like, we're in power. We don't care if you like it or not. We're going to go do this. I'll even give Trump credit for this. I'm going to unleash the National Guard and ICE. I'm not giving him credit for that. He did it. Stop me. I'm going to go invade Venezuela. What you going to do? I'm going to threaten Greenland. I'm going to do a trade war. I'm going to, make RFK Jr. my health and human secretary ahead, and we're just going to go after vaccines. What are you going to do? You need Democrats to go on offense, not just against Trump, but, Mike, when it comes to immigration, isn't this a generational moment to actually articulate something, a humane, smart immigration policy, right? You could pair it up with, you don't need ICE. This is what you need. You don't need billionaires. This is what you need. You don't need to fund APAC and any regime. This is what you need. So it's not just Trump bad, but you articulate a bold vision and you go smash mouth football. I don't know if you agree with me or disagree with me.
No, I think we're saying the exact same things. But let me say this: the reason why Mamdani won was he was articulating specifics. He wasn't just saying Eric Adams is bad and let's vote against Trump. He literally had an economic plan. Like, I don't know what
Right.
Cuomo stood for. Cuomo was not only a bad dude, but I don't know one thing that he was saying for. I can tell you 5 things that Mamdani was saying I'm gonna do. That's a plan. And again, but everything you said, I want to keep in mind, without that plan, and I know that's central to what you're saying. This is the warning I'm putting out. There was also a generational moment with the murder of George Floyd.
That's right.
And so what people said is, well, let's defund the police. Let's have that be our measure. That was a disaster because we had a generational moment where finally white people were seeing stuff and going, oh my God, like, I'm not going to put up with that. And the Democrats didn't come up with a policing plan or specifics. They started saying defund the police. And not only did they lose all of those people that after a generation finally started listening to them, you had Latinos and Black people going, defund the police. Are you out of your mind? No. And that's what happened. That's the predicate. That's my warning. So I get it. Yes, now is the time to move offensively. But the way you move on offense is with specific and you fill the void. You don't just yell louder into the abyss just because the Republicans are doing it. And what I will say is this, I do disagree with you. I don't think that the Republicans, because they're not serious about governing, because they don't have plans on anything, they're left de facto to put these cartoon characters in place to move forward with a WWF agenda. That's very different. They're not selling, the Republicans aren't selling anything proactively. What they're doing is they're winning races by running against Democrats. That's what they're doing. Democrats cannot take the bait and do the same thing because at best, what happens is you win an election like 2018, which is Pyrrhic, and you may win a historic election like 2018, but 2 years later, you end up losing with your own base constituency because you don't have a plan and you're not doing anything. And then 2 years
I know
later,
that. I agree with
well,
you. And
yeah,
my concern is, Mike, and I've said this before, they feel they can waltz in. Trump will overreach. He will be unpopular. They're seeing the Cubans go for the Democrat. We've talked about this in Miami. They've seen the
yeah,
special election in Georgia. They saw the double-digit victory, and they're like, "Oh, we don't need to articulate a progressive, forward-thinking plan. We don't need to really fight. We can prevent defense." And I feel like they've already spiked the ball. And I think that's very dangerous.
it
They're
is.
taking they're taking their base for granted that didn't show up for them because their base said, "I don't trust you." Their base said, "You don't listen to us." In 2024, that's what happened. 18 million Democrats stayed at home, folks. 18 million Democrats stayed at home. Kamala lost by 1.5 points. The Democratic establishment said, and they're still saying this right now, Mike, "Who are you going to vote for? Us or Orange guy? Shut up. Vote for us." And in 2024, what happened, Mike? People said, "Nah." And my fear is they're missing the moment. They're missing the anger. They're missing the rage. They're missing the independence. They're not leading. Um, and they think, oh, business as usual, Mike. We'll just restore the same institutions. Everything will be fine. And my fear is if that goes according to plan, and if we have free and fair elections, you'll get a Gavin Newsom who play business as usual, Mike. But then in 2032, we will get our first Nazi America first president. That is my fear.
That's right. That's right. No, that's right. That's exactly the way to look at it. You have to fill the void with policy, with a vision. In politics, it's not enough to just be against things. You have to stand for something. And if you don't stand for something, you're just playing this nihilistic, cynical game where you're just throwing spitballs at each other, and whoever's the worst at any given moment will win that election. That's kind of what we've been doing. So I 110% agree with you. That's exactly right.
And I'll say this, so why I'm so confident about abolish ICE, but also replace it with something is ICE doesn't have the same romanticized, or not just even romanticized, Mike, but the same presence as police officers. Like we have family members who are police officers, right? You have community members as police officers. It's been around forever. CBS has cop shows. There's movies. There's Dirty Harry, right? So for a lot of people, and I know progressives don't like this. I understood what defend the police meant. I had to spend a lot of time explaining what defend the police meant to people. And when you have to spend a lot of time explaining what defend the police, meant to people, I'm talking about people who are like Democrats. I'm like, oh shit, they lost on this.
Yeah.
Because people are like, hey man, I get it. We need reform with the police, but defund the police completely? We need the police. I'm like, oh shit, they lost on this one, right? But abolish ICE. ICE is seen as now a terrorist organization, an occupying force filled with white nationalists that's only been around for 20 years. And people are like, this isn't the border. These people are terrorizing us. I do think they can win on abolish ICE, but I will say something, folks. In this, I have no faith in the Democrats because, Mike, you've been in this game for a while. I've been in this game for a while. Courage. It takes courage to articulate a bold, humane immigration plan. And what have they done? They've punted it our entire life, and they've said, inshallah. And they kept saying, you know what? Next time. We'll take care of it in 2024. We'll take care of it in 2028. We got to worry about it. Obama, we'll take care of it in 2032. And what we said is, you cannot ignore this. You cannot ignore this. Republicans, they took the seated ground and ran with it on hate and sadly worked. You can't ignore this. You can't ignore the income inequality anymore. You can't ignore the billionaires. You can't ignore affordability. You can't afford homelessness. You can't ignore immigration reform. All this is tied, folks. And if you don't believe me, look at what's happening right now. Mike, I'll let you go. Shamelessly promote yourself, sir.
Yeah, follow me on the Great Transformation here on Substack, now appearing on YouTube at Madrid Mike, where I'm putting out about 4 or 5 essays a week on everything from the
No,
monetary
that's great.
crisis we talked about. Yeah, so just started that. So baby steps here. Could use your advice on that, but it's going really well. A lot of response. But also, Waj, I mean, let's talk. There's going to be a lot of all of the polling outfits now are going to start putting out information more regularly as we head into the midterms. So maybe we can structure it a little bit, give your viewers and you a little bit more of insight from a nerd like me that reads this stuff from sun up to sundown to look for the trends, look for the numbers, look for baselines, and make some predictions as we start getting closer to the midterms.
Yeah, let's do that. And I'm on YouTube as well, folks. I'm shocked, Mike. I think it'll be good for you. There is real quick before you go, because you asked me. I'm just telling you what I learned. YouTube has its own like YouTube subscribers and viewers. Substack has its own Substack viewers and subscribers. There's a little bit of overlap. What Substack allows you to do is based on the back end. Anytime you publish on Substack, it goes
Yeah,
straight to YouTube, and then
yeah,
you can edit it. Make it a bit nicer if you want, or check in the captions and the titles. And the YouTube algorithm is all funky, but if you're consistent around the same time and you keep putting up the content, very quickly you build up people on YouTube who come. So and then also you can get a little bit of side money from that as well. So hopefully it helps you. And then especially as we do, the midterms are coming up. If they come up, folks, if this is a big
yes,
if. Everyone who thinks the midterms are going to happen, you're not paying attention to the evidence of your eyes and your ears. Donald Trump has not ruled out the Insurrection Act. Stephen Miller is still there. Tom Homan is a slightly less Nazi version than Bovino. Noam is still there. Just putting it out there. But yeah, I'd love to do this, man. You know the numbers. And if you want to do something regularly, every 2 weeks, you come on and just talk numbers with Mike Madrid. I know our the Left Hook really, really enjoys it. And on YouTube, the YouTube community really enjoys whenever you come on as well. Folks, for the 2,000 people who are watching, this is Mike Madrid. Mike Madrid has followed the trends, the polls, specifically Latino voting trends for 3 decades. Former Republican, realized Trump was a fascist psychopath, left. Co-founder of the Lincoln Project, data nerd, comes on every 2 weeks or so with the Left Hook. Every time major polls drop, I go look immediately at Mike, and Mike says, "Look at the Latino numbers," and he's been spot on. He called it. He said, "Just wait, watch." Said it 6 months ago. Trump will overreach on the economy and immigration, and these Latinos will go back to 2016 numbers. And now you're saying they're going back to the midterm 2018 numbers.
yes, yeah. Which you're talking about now. Remember, there's a 40-seat loss. This is wave numbers. At least at this moment, guys, the blue wave is likely to be bigger than most of the professional pundits you're hearing are saying. Look, nobody was predicting the turnout numbers in the break in New Jersey, Virginia, California, Miami, the way we saw it. Nobody's polling was showing that because they were undercounting Democratic enthusiasm. So keep that in mind. We're not looking at a traditional Democrat +9 environment. We could be Democrat +15. And that's an enormous, that puts the Senate in play. And that's when things get, that's the other thing we need to mention. I'll say this as I jump off here, Waj.
Yeah, yeah.
The best way to defend against this, because if we have midterms, and I think that is a real thing, that what you're saying is a real thing. It is a concern. When Tulsi Gabbard is in Fulton County last night, they are laying the groundwork to start undermining elections. There's no other reason that you have the head of national intelligence in a county office looking at ballots, guys. There's no other reason. Okay.
Or Pam Bondi openly saying quid pro quo. You want ICE out of
Yes.
Minnesota? Give us your
Give
voter
your voter
rolls.
files. That's exactly right. So this is very nefarious. This is very dangerous. We're in a very, very delicate, sensitive moment. When you start to see a dramatic pushback, like you're seeing on the streets of Minneapolis and other cities, when you're starting to see these No Kings rallies get bigger every time they're held, if you start to win elections by bigger numbers than they can lie about, right? They can steal 1 or 2 points. You can't steal 15 points without the public just blowing up. That's what we need to do. We need to start winning by very, very big numbers. And what I'm suggesting is the fundamentals are there to swell to a very, very significant blue wave at this point in time.
I completely agree. And the last thing I'll say as I let you go is someone is saying, Mombeka was on right now. It says, man, Waj is amazing. Mike is amazing. Thank you. You have great taste. But if we have Insurrection Act, it's over. It's not over because we have the numbers. We have the numbers and you have to plan. And finally yesterday, Adam Schiff, it was revealed in Axios, is saying, you know what? I think we should take it seriously that we might not have elections. Finally. So which I give credit where credit's due. I'm like, finally, well done, Democrats. Plan for this man who already incited a violent insurrection to not leave and to potentially implement the Insurrection Act to kill the votes. You have to message, you have to lead, you have to fight, smash mouth football on offense, blitz on defense. This is the way you got to go, folks. Don't listen to me. Listen to Mike. He's been doing it for 3 decades. Thank you, Mike. You stayed longer than, but take off. Take care. I'll finish this up on my end. For the 2,100 people watching, yeah, take care, man. This is Mike Madrid. Mike has a fantastic Substack called The Great Transformation. He's also on YouTube. And folks, I'll publish this in a fantastic conversation I had about an hour ago with 2 community organizers in Minnesota, talking about how they are literally resisting ISIS occupation, ISIS reign on terror. I'm a little bit more aggressive and bold than Mike when it comes on abolishing ICE. I see why. He's saying, I don't know, man, defund the police, but I think it's different. Police, like I said, is an institution. We have family members, community members in the police. We've celebrated the police, gaslit a large part of privileged white America that the police are always good, Dirty Harry and cop shows. ICE is only 20 years old. And ICE is not doing immigration enforcement. And ICE is not going after terrorists. ICE are a bunch of portly, white supremacists, cosplaying crusader, masked thugs who are barely trained, openly terrorizing white folks in Minneapolis and now in Maine, and they've killed 2 white people. I think abolish ICE, smash mouth football. Smash mouth football. And I know people thought I was crazy and wrong. I'll give you one example. Gaza. Only the lefties care about Gaza. Only progressives care about Gaza. Only you liberals care about Gaza. This is how Democrats talked about their own base, by the way. Like liberal is like a bad word. You never see Republicans saying, you conservatives, you MAGA. You've never seen a Republican elected official run away from the term right-wing and conservative as you see Democrats run away from the term liberal and progressive. Just something to think about. Just pay attention. They said it's all you liberals and you lefties. It's you Arabs and you Muslims. They're like, no, no, no. You're missing the moment. This is a genocide in real time. I know the polls. I know AIPAC. I know, yes. 45 years old. I've seen it. This is a generational moment. You're missing it. This is something different. And they said in 2024, shut up. Shut your mouth. You're wrong. We're right. We believe we're so right. And we're so willing to fund the genocide. And we're so willing to do business as usual that we're not even going to have a Palestinian speaker at the DNC. And we're still going to win. And what did we say? We said, please, we want you to win. Listen to us. We want you to win. Have a Palestinian speaker next to the Jewish speaker. This is the least you can do, or you're going to lose your own base. And they said, no, corporate consultants, money, donors, polls, we got it. You're wrong. We're right. You're not going to vote for Trump. You're going to vote for us. We said, you're missing the moment. This is something different. People have been radicalized in real time, seeing a genocide on their phone. It isn't just the Muslims and the Arabs and the Palestinians. Your own base is against it. And they said, shut up. And and what happened? 18 million people decided not to vote. 18 million Democrats. Kamala lost by 1.5 points. YouGov poll came out. What's the number one reason why those Democrats stayed at home? Gaza. And it's not to say that Gaza itself would have lifted her to victory, but instead of losing by 1.5 points, she would have lost by 1. What's worse is it radicalized Democrats against the Democratic Party. They just don't trust it anymore. This is why I'm saying this is a generational moment. People are sick and tired of ICE. Forget the polls, forget the past. Not the past is not, people can be, Jason and I, Dr. Jason Johnson and I don't disagree with him. I said persuade. He says, I don't like the word persuade. I say reprioritize. You can reprioritize. People change. I'm old enough to remember Obama ran first time, right? 2008. Democrats didn't accept gay marriage. They didn't. Marriage is between a man and a woman, but you like you gays. 4 years later, what happened? Gay marriage. All right. People change. Times change. People get radicalized in real time. It happens. It's literally happening right now with ICE, where in 3 weeks, after the murder of Renee Nicole Good and Alex Preddy, the latest YouGov poll has a majority of Americans, a plurality of Americans, 46 to 43, say abolish ICE. Plus 8 independents, you even have 15% of Republicans. Now imagine if you prioritized it and messaged it, and leadership said, this is not what we voted for. ICE was supposed to do this. It has become a thug-like terrorist organization. We need to abolish it, defund it, and replace it with something else. From 46, you'll get to 50 plus. So that's where I disagree with some people, even though I know where they're coming from. In the comment section, let me know if you agree or disagree with this. I feel very strongly about it. And also, it's good to be moral and ethical as well. I know that's not, you rarely hear about this in politics, but decency, morality, ethics, human rights. Why not run with that? That's a good story. Is it ethical and moral to fund an agency that kills Americans? I don't know. Stacy says, please interview. This will hold watch. No, Joel says no purity tests. I disagree, Joel. I disagree. The reason why I say that is not purity tests. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I have a litmus test, and I use the word litmus. I cannot support you as a Democrat if you are telling me and the American public, I will vote for a corrupt, broken, racist agency that celebrates the murder of 2 white American citizens and then lies about it to our face and then defames them. Because that means you are perfectly fine supporting a terrorist agency that will kill and murder other Americans. And then you tell me, what's the difference between, oh, well, you have to vote for me because I'm a centrist. Well, what's the difference between you and a Republican? I'm sorry. So I have certain litmus tests. I do. My other litmus test, going back to the point I just made, I have no faith in you defending Americans from fascism if you celebrate a genocidal fascist regime that is killing Palestinians in Israel after everything that's you've seen for the past 2 years and after all the polls. That's my litmus test, folks. I'm sorry. And then furthermore, you see all the numbers that we talked about today, all the poll numbers that have come out, the economic numbers, the job numbers, unemployment rate, which is terrible. Amazon's laid off people, rich are getting richer, gloating. All these mother effers who were in the front row of Trump's inauguration at the dais. You know who it was? Heads of NVIDIA, OpenAI, Thiel, Musk, Tim Cook, Bezos, all the billionaires, right? All the billionaires laughing it up as we are literally losing our jobs and worried about our healthcare. And they're openly bragging about AI replacing our jobs. And you're telling me that they're part of your big tent? They're not part of my tent. If you're unwilling to even tax those billionaires, that means you're fine with business as usual. And these mother effers will take our healthcare, they'll take our social security, they'll take our pensions, and then they'll gloat as AI. If AI is successful, folks, we're done, right? 2 things can happen. AI is successful. If AI is successful, swaths of American jobs are gone forever, and they just ain't the poor in the middle class, right? I'm talking about radiologists. I'm talking about even in law firms. I'm talking about upper middle class jobs are gone, right? What will you think that will happen to the American public, the economy, the global economy? Just shattering. Now, suppose it's not successful. Okay. Also a disaster. They overpitched it, inflated it, overinvested in it. That bubble's going to burst. That bubble's also connected to crypto. That reminds me of, 2008, the economic crisis, but dumber. And what were we told in 2008? Too big to fail. Same things. That's my prediction. Same thing's going to happen. If it fails, if it bursts, when, I think it will, they're going to say, guys, we need this. I mean, look, so much of the government, public sector and private sector now runs on AI and depends on these institutions and crypto. Too big to fail. So that's my take, folks. That's my take. Blitzkrieg moment, and I give you 2004, 2024. Just go back last year. Shut up. Don't talk about Gaza. Business as usual. Look at the polls. Misreading the moment. It's a radicalized generation, Gaza generation. Misreading the moment. You have radicalized people against ICE. Misreading the moment. You have radicalized people against billionaires. And Democrats and the institutions are going to misread the moment unless we push them, push them, push them. And some good news is because of us pushing them right now, funding vote fails in Senate ahead of potential government shutdown. Democrats are continuing to negotiate with the White House. They saw the rage of the 7 House Democrats who caved last week. And right now, senators voted 45 to 55 not to advance the legislation. Awesome. Every single Democrat joined by 8 Republicans, which includes funding for DHS and also Defense Department and also HHS. So most of the federal government is set to shut down in less than 36 hours unless Congress strikes a deal. And I know this might sound extreme, but Danielle and I think you got to shut it down, man. National strike. This country worships money. And you hit them where it hurts. They only care about money. They don't care about you. And in God we trust. The color green trumps every other color. Once it hurts their bottom line, that's when these people, and by these people, I mean the establishment, the institutions, the corporations, the 1%, that's when they move. So it's like short-term pain, long-term gain. This type of prevent defense, folks, has it helped? Amy Klobuchar saying, ICE, get out of Minnesota so they can kill people in Maine. What the F are we talking about? What are we talking about? That's my take. Thank you all for watching. 2,300 people. It's the Left Hook. Talking to Mike Madrid. As we were talking about all the latest poll numbers, all terrible. This breaking news happened about all the Democrats and 8 Republicans not voting, and so they're going to continue negotiations. And then we gave our thoughts about how Democrats need to play smash mouth football. My concern and Mike's concern is they feel like they can waltz in, and that's why they're playing timid. They're looking at all the special elections. They're like, oh shit, we don't have to do anything. Trump is so bad. He has overreached so terribly. We'll play timid. I don't think it's going to work, folks. I really don't. I think it'll radicalize a lot of people. Mac Bear, poor form going after Klobuchar. Why? 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 Klobuchar over the weekend, senator from Minnesota, literally said, I should get out of Minnesota. She didn't say abolish ICE. To which I respond to, that's your message? Okay. Don't take my word for it. I asked Andrew, who was here, who's from Minnesota, on the ground, leading the resistance, openly said he doesn't trust the community members don't trust the institution of the Democrats, said we need bold leadership. How can you reform or retrain ICE, right? So I'm fine going after Klobuchar, folks. Listen, I'm going to go after all of them. I don't take money from the Democrats. I don't worship politicians. I don't hold them on a pedestal. I'm not interested in vote blue no matter who. I've done the right thing always in every election. I'm strategic, lesser of two evils. Even I know they have us in a headlock. Vote blue no matter who. They're still trying to kneecap Mamdani. The same people told us vote blue no matter who did everything to vote for Cuomo against Mamdani. The same people who said vote blue no matter who are perfectly fine with Ilhan Omar, their own colleague, getting killed. I'm telling you. You don't believe me? They do nothing. This woman is going to get killed. She has a target on her back. They do nothing. They say nothing. Nothing. They are more comfortable censuring Rashida Tlaib and Al Green, Democrats, than they are Randy Fine, who said that all mainstream Muslims must be eliminated, or Tommy Tuberville. Okay? So if you, I'm telling you all, if the Left Hook, if you're expecting me to sit there and not criticize the Klobuchars and the Schumers, I'm not for you. I am. I'm not for you. This place ain't for you. When they do good, I try to be very fair. I give him credit. Like today, Schumer. I loathe Schumer with a passion. I don't think he's fit for this. I think he's a coward. But he held the line today, held the Democratic senators 45 to 55. I gave him credit. I gave him credit. So that's me. I'm going to push these people. I will never run for office. Why would you No, are you kidding me? Do you know my history? Read my book. I'm a brown Muslim man. My parents are formerly incarcerated people. I've pissed off the right wing. And why would you wish that misery on me to run for office? Good God. No, let me say what I want to say. Like, do you hate me? Have I really offended you that much that you would wish that future upon me? What have I done? What have I done to deserve this? Oh, you have disrespected me. Um, you should run for office. You all should run for office. All right, folks. So that's my take. If you expect me to sit here and say vote blue no matter who and hee ha hoo hoo and be some blue and on, nope. You have to push these people, folks. You have to push them. And I'm going to go a step further. You have to cull the Democratic Party. You have to. Just look at the evidence of your eyes and ears. These people aren't going to fight for you. Some are. Some aren't. There's people emerging. You got to prune away, prune away, prune away, replace. Cull, cull, cull. Primary season, fight for people who are willing to fight for you. If you're telling me that billionaires are part of the Big Tent, you're more comfortable hugging Netanyahu than Mamdani, and you're too cowardly to say abolish ICE, even though the polls are behind your back, you're not my fighter. And you're not going to fight for me. You're not going to fight for Renee Nicole Good. You're not going to fight for Alex Preddy. That's my take. If you agree with me, wonderful. If you disagree with me, bring your homework. Show me where I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong and you're right, I will follow you. But if I'm right and you're wrong, well, thank you all for watching The Left Hook. This is The Left Hook with Wajahat Ali. There are no paywalls. Everything is free. This will be up, and I'll have 2 other fantastic conversations up later today. I hope you all like it. I might not be able to do any more today because, I have a family and I haven't slept a long time and I have chores. But maybe, inshallah, if I have time later tonight, I'll try to do something. If not, um, let's see. I'm back tomorrow, 12 p.m. A new episode of Democracy Ish. 3 p.m. Miles Taylor is coming back. Miles has a fantastic new piece called "I Helped Create DHS. We Have to Abolish It. We have to tear it down." I'm like, Miles, you got to come on and talk to me about that. So Miles is coming on at 3, and I'm gonna see if I could talk to Allison. I haven't talked to Allison all week, so maybe around 1 or 2, I'll try to talk to Allison. Or Kurt Bardella actually reached out to me, and Kurt, his job was working in the House, and he's like, I have these strategies of how Democrats, even though they're not in the majority, can still use their power in the House to hold Trump accountable. And so I was like, ooh, I'm interested in that. So I might get that on Friday. Thank you all. Mombeka, I wasn't trying to call it. Thank you for the kind words. I'm not trying to call out anyone. I just see these, comments, and I try my best to respond to all of you. As in a hopefully a civil way, even in our disagreements, or you might actually agree with me and I might actually agree with you. So I'm just, responding to all of you guys. Thank you all. Take care of yourself. Be kind. Be informed. Please, oh, please don't be a fascist. Forgive me that I have to do this. I have a 25% special off for 2 more days. It's my January special. $3.75 forever. Go to the link. If you go to the regular link, it's $5 a month. And I'm going to voluntarily give up money and tell you, don't go to that link. Go to the one I just put in, the lefthook.substack.com/special. That's the one that's $3.75 forever per month. And I think like $37 or $38 a year forever, which is about as cheap as I can do it because I got, I'm independent. I got kids. I'm independent. This is what I do. I eat what I hunt, which is fine. If you don't have the money, I get it. Everything's free. And now, inshallah, we'll never have a paywall on anything. If you're watching on YouTube, it's free. If you're watching on Substack, inshallah, it'll always be free. Thank you all. Take care of yourselves. Be kind. And please don't be a fascist.